kind of sound a little weird. The voice is gone. It is I, your neighborhood-friendly coach, trainer, promoter, and 44-year-old professional wrestler. The eyebrows are coming back. Zack, primetime, Reeb, and I'm joined alongside my podcast partner, my loyal, noteworthy podcast partner, the 7-foot wrecking ball, Paul Isadora. Paul, what is up, my dude?
Oh man, we're coming off the Twisted Gold Tattoo Convention in Winnemucca, Nevada, and a lot of positives, man. We were just talking before we started this podcast, and we say, man, well, why don't we just hit record and we can talk about some of the stuff that we're talking about on the podcast, and maybe it's information that people can grab onto and learn something from. So we will begin that process. But the first thing that I was going to ask you was, and we had kind of talked about this yesterday a little bit, but Larry and I went to breakfast, right? And we were he pointed out immediately, hey, there's not a poster for this show in this restaurant, right? It's one exit down on the freeway, and why is there not a poster here? And my knee-jerk reaction is, this is a paid show. We're not responsible for drawing the house, right? So it is, but then as soon as I start talking to you, then I'm thinking to myself, like, well, it's a paid show, but in order for these people to want to pay us to come back, it would be beneficial for us to have a packed house there, right? So it's definitely one of those things where I've had the same opinion every time we've had a paid show. Is like, hey, they're risking their money, basically. They're going to pay us, and then now it is their responsibility to promote the show and get their money back, essentially, or make money, or whatever the case may be. But in this case, it just hit me like a sack of hammers, man. It was one of those deals where I was like, hey, you know what? It would be very beneficial if we were out there promoting this show, getting posters and flyers up everywhere. Because realistically, like, driving to the venue where the tattoo convention was, there was no signage talking about a tattoo convention, let alone a pro wrestling show. And then even in the venue itself, I mean, there was posters and a small little, at the very bottom of the poster, there was 2 generic wrestling characters, and it said pro wrestling, but it didn't have anything about what time the pro wrestling was. It didn't have any information like that, which, hindsight being 2020, you look back and you go, you know what, we should have went out there. That town is a little over 2 hours from here, but it's definitely one of those things where we could have went out there and, spent an entire day just out there putting up posters and talking to people and marketing the show and making sure that everyone in this small town knew about what was going on. And in turn, hopefully you fill up the venue, and the people that are putting on the show go, wow, man, that was a good, use of our money, right? We put together this much money. We paid for them to have the wrestling portion, and they paid some additional stuff to have the floor put in there that we could set up on, so it wasn't on the dirt. So trying to get a return on the investment. If we would have had that place with hundreds of people in there, then it probably would have been a better chance for them to say, you know what, it's there's no questions asked. We're bringing you back next year.
Well, when you talk about that too, like I said, my voice is gone. A lot of yelling last night. Great weekend. A lot of yelling on Friday night. A lot of yelling at the training seminar before we came down to yours at the Ugly Dojo. But Sean lives in town. You know what I mean? So the coolest part about that is the guy that's getting us the motels, getting us the business, taking part in the show. And Sean comes to all the other shows. So that's just something as making the team grow, like here we come, Winnemucca. in May for Memorial Day, I believe 23rd and 24th. And we know Saturday, we're all going to get in Friday, and we know Saturday is going to be thousands of people watching this wrestling. And then we know Sunday we're going to have a drop off, right? So the thing for like Sean to do, and he's got his kid and everything else, but there's some people in that town, and he knows a lot of people. Even though you're getting paid for the tattoo convention, even though you're getting paid for Winnemucca for 2 days, let's set a goal, right? Let's promote. Let's make a flyer, and even though we know it's already a paid event and it's free to the public right there at Winnemucca, let's put some stuff out. And let's see if we can't get these people to come back and stick around for Sunday to see what played off a Saturday and concluded on Sunday. So, yeah, I mean, you got the guy in town. It's like Arsonist, Don Stockton, Zach Bay, all the Red Bluff guys down there. So, yeah, even if you promote, even if you're getting paid for something, don't cash in, man, because just having your product in that town associated with one of the biggest events they got going on, everybody in town that lives there is going to see that. And we went out, we went to Butch Cassidy's, and then we went to a place called Cheers. And there's a lot more people in the nightlife of residents in that town. It was popping, man. It was popping in March on a Saturday night in Winnemucca. And the thing I wanted to tell you too, when you were talking about no advertisement, when we were leaving town and we went to the McDonald's across from Flyers, and there's the big Winnemucca electronic sign when you come in, and it showed the tattoo convention, and also it popped up right after and it said live pro wrestling. So they had you guys on the main sign in town. But yeah, a lot of people say that. They're like, I got the sponsors, right? I know some guys that are like, we're already in the green. Who cares? Well, you're running a promotion. So if you're already in the green, so who cares? Go ahead and promote your show like you had to promote your show to make money, and you're going to generate more, and you're going to generate more customers. And then you're going to generate newer customers. And if they see it all over town associated with the tattoo convention, the Winnemucca, if they see it, the flyers physically in front of them with the number and the QR code and everything, why wouldn't you want to advertise your business?
Exactly. Well, and it also brings up for years we used to do, kids were free, right? Free admission for kids. And people would be like, why are you giving away free tickets? And my response was always, well, most of the time, a kid is going to have to be brought by a parent or a guardian or somebody else's parents or whatever. And most likely, it's going to be like, hey, I didn't have to pay for their ticket to get in. So I can go to the concession stand and I can buy some food, drinks, whatever. I didn't have to pay for this kid to get in. So why don't I buy a t-shirt, button, photo, whatever? So, it is very much roundabout. Like, you do the promoting regardless of if this is a paid show or not, because you're trying to generate bodies in the seats, not just because, it obviously has nothing to do with you getting paid for the show itself, but the things I talked about before, it's an opportunity to get brought back the next time they have an event. It is also, with the head count, it is also an opportunity to sell merchandise, food, all this different stuff. And that's just another thing. At that venue last night, they were running the concessions. So if you sent 300 people to the concession stand to buy food before the event or during the event or whatever, that also would bode well for you in the long run. They go, well, not only did they bring, hundreds of people into the venue, but it also generated us this much extra money after the tattoo convention was over, that we're here just watching wrestling, and we sold this much extra food. So all of these things are positive that I absolutely overlooked. But it's just, just like this podcast as a whole this is a learning experience. And I feel like we are learning things on a weekly basis, whether it's promoting stuff, whether it's wrestling stuff, whatever it is, we feel like we're learning on a weekly basis. So it leads me to another question. So we talked about, we wanted people from other states and other cities and stuff like that. And how do you make a good impression, right? We were talking about, which guys would you bring back, right? Guys that you don't normally see on the card that were there last night. How do you make a good impression if it's your first time at a promotion or you've been used sparingly or whatever? How do you guarantee, or how do you make your odds higher of coming back for the next event this promotion has? And I feel like every single person said something along the lines of, "Hey, when's Winnemucca? Because I'm interested in coming back." Right. So, what are the things that put people over the edge as far as giving them the opportunity to come back? So, some things that I was thinking about was, who do you think were the guys in the locker room that were approachable, that were positive, that were guys that you'd want to have in your locker room? We talk about this all the time with our promotion specifically, about surrounding ourselves with good people, the people that you'd want to be in the locker room with. And then on the other side of that, what do you, as far as work rate, right? The things that you come and you go, "Hey, this is a guy I would like to have on my card for people to work with," as far as a ring work perspective as well. So your thoughts on things that fit into those couple questions.
Well, I mean, you're definitely looking at, was this person on time and present, right? Like, that's the first thing you're looking at. Were they here by call time, or were they here a little earlier? The impression that did they walk around? Did they shake everybody's hands? Were they were they communicating with people? Were they talkative? How are they? You can tell a lot by somebody when they come in. Did they have a good look? Did they contribute to the show? I don't remember the guy's name that was in the three-way with Bishop and Maple. He won. Do you remember his name?
I can tell you right off the top. This is one of those things that we talk about on a regular basis. That is very much the the degrees of separation, right? I knew somebody in Utah that I was like, "Hey, can you bring a carload?" And he's like, "Yeah, you know what? Actually, I can't be there, but I'm going to send you some guys." So that guy was Brett that was in that match. And
that was his work. Was that his work name or his shoot name?
I don't remember what the shoot name was. You'd have to ask.
Because he had a good look. He was tanned. He was a real nice guy. I don't know if that was his wife or his girlfriend that was with him, but also walked out to the ring with him. He had a good presence. Right. I made the statement. I made the comment to you. I said he worked just as light as the honky tonk man, right? To a point where I was like, I think he's working a little too light, but he's so into his character with the blonde hair and the tiger stripes or the tiger singlet. And, he was real positive with Maple after. And I thought Maple just did a fantastic job. Like, this girl's showing up every single, she's at the trainings. She's promoting herself. She's promoting on social media. She's showing up at these shows. Nobody knew who the fuck she was in Winnemucca. But here she comes, the baddest chick in town, out the curtain with a lot of energy and a good look. And they're behind her from the start. And then they're behind her during the match. And it's like she's standing out. And that guy stood out to me.
Right. So it was Brett Buffshay.
Yeah, Brett Buffshay.
Right.
Yeah, see, he stood. I didn't catch his name because I just didn't catch his name. But now that you say that, I won't forget that name. But he stood out to me. And, there was a lot of things, are they there the next day? Like when you got a hold of me today and said, "Hey, you posted in the group." And I had told you that me and the crew of guys I was with, I had let you know in advance. we were out of here 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning so we could make training today. And we were all sitting, grabbing something to eat real quick. And, bad news, like, man, I feel bad, man. Because Paul he read your message. And he was like, oh, we're not there. I'm like, I know, but we let him know. If we would have broke it down that night, I forgot that we had to be done at 9:45. So when everyone came walking out the building, I said, where's Paul? Before you called me. And I said, did we break down the ring? And they said, no. Maple said, no, tomorrow. So, and then you get there. But I mean, you got to understand too, like, people are going to go out in a new town. They're going to have fun. And maybe someone had the intention to be there the next day to help break down the ring. But then liquor and everything else got in the way, and fun and vibes and a good night. And maybe that's not the person you want picking up a 200-pound piece of side metal that connects the poles together. Maybe it's better that these people didn't show up for this, but they were there. They had a good time. So I think all those factors go into that really long answer. And it's, who stood out to you? Is it someone you think that you could work with? Did your talent that you work on a regular basis with connect with them and enjoy that person? Because in turn, you have to trust somebody to make some money. You know what I mean? So, and there was a couple things on the card too. It's like, I always say, how did that person's finish get over? How did they get over personally? But did their finish get over? Did they get a pop? Did they get the right reaction you wanted for their finish? Because if their finish went over well, then that's somebody. If they got one of your talents over, and they're not from here and we haven't seen them before, that's the man or woman that I bring back every time.
Absolutely, yeah. So we were also talking about what is the, and I don't know for you if this is if your answer is gonna be the same as mine, but the absolute first thing you teach someone when they get in a wrestling ring.
Wipe your feet off.
Wipe your feet off, absolutely. So that was exactly what I was thinking. So I think JP went above and beyond, right, to go, hey, we are getting dressed on a rodeo arena. It was all compacted. It's all compacted dirt and things like that. But, it is still dirt, right? So there was still dirt to be tracked from where we were getting dressed into the ring. So JP, put wet towels down, essentially, like, hey, wipe your feet off before you walk onto the surface that was around the ring. And, with the intention of, like, let's make sure we don't have a bunch of, footprints getting tracked onto the black canvas. And you had mentioned that at the beginning as well. Hey, this canvas is going to be filthy by the time we're done. And, and I think JP made some, made the effort to try to make sure that didn't happen. But then today he was like, hey, there was the one guy who you could just see his footprints all over the ring. It's like, obviously that guy didn't wipe his feet off on the wet towel. And then in addition to that, if your footprints are still in the ring when you're walking around, that's also a great indication that when you got up on the apron, you probably didn't wipe your feet off there either. So, so that was one of the things that I was telling JP was like, hey, if that's not something that you do as instinct, a lot of people, I just remember people talking about Steven Regal, right? He did it in like a very, nose in the air, British way, right? Like you peasants type of thing, like, almost like, it was, he's getting in this ring kind of against his will, and he's going to compete with someone who's definitely not on his level. And it was almost like, like if you knock someone down or, and you kick dirt on them, right? They fall down behind you, you wipe your feet and you kick dirt onto them as well, right? So however your way of doing it, I don't want to say discreetly or whatever. If you want to do that discreetly, if you don't, whatever. I always kind of try to put that into whatever character you're playing, right? It's I'm wiping my feet. You could say, hey, just in case I had something slippery on my boots, I wanted to try to wipe it off before I got in the ring because I don't want to accidentally slip and put myself at risk of getting beat and losing the winners end of the purse, right? However you want to phrase it in your mind to justify it. If you feel you have to justify it, or if you feel like, hey, this is just a tradition, like this is what we're going to do this. We're going to wipe our feet off. It's a pay homage to the people that came before us and keep the ring as clean as possible because we don't want people getting staph infection or whatever extreme you want to take it to. But that's definitely one of those things that for me, it's like there's a respecting there. It's the first thing, and I told JP that today. I said the absolute first thing we teach people in wrestling school is, it's your privilege to get in this wrestling ring. You need to earn this, and a sign of respect is to wipe your feet off so you're not tracking in dirt or whatever into the ring.
And piss and dog shit and cigarette butts and dirty heroin, syringe needles, semen, what alcohol, whatever it is, you're gonna track more shit in. You know what I mean? Like you roll around on the grass in the front yard. If you got animals, I take my dogs for a walk. My dogs stop and shit. You know what I mean? They shit. And I try to get out of there as fast as I can because I didn't bring my little plastic. I didn't bring my little plastic hand gloves with me on my mile walk around the block with the dogs. So you're rolling around in a yard. You're probably rolling around in a yard that some dogs have pissed and shit in. So yeah, it is a sign of respect. So there are little things that I look at when I come to your guys' show. I said, hey, this is really cool, expensive stuff they put down, but they have so much extra lying around that's not going to be used to make this square. Why couldn't they put this down in the locker room for us to stand on so we don't track this stuff on this black canvas? And I prefer a black canvas, but when you do these outdoor shows, when you do rodeo arena shows, when you do shows at baseball stadiums, if nothing's laid out, you are risking walking in dirt and walking in shit and tracking it around. And a lot of people nowadays, and here's the big one, a lot of people nowadays don't wear wrestling boots with the flat soles. Wrestling boots have flat soles with no chance of anything sticking to it except maybe a piece of gum. You know what I mean? It's an elevated, flat, nice surface that you can run on in the ring. But nowadays, everyone's wearing wrestling shoes, or they're wearing Nikes or Jordans or just something else on their feet with kick pads. So when you do step on dirt and rocks and stuff like that, or just anything that's loose on the ground, it's going to get stuck in there like your tire, like a rock in your tire, and you're going to track that in the ring too. And that's the problem too with indie shows is, you're using so much talent on the show for other things. To think about having somebody between every match get in there and sweep the ring out, sometimes that's just, you don't have the extra manpower for it. Or that person is working security and you're saying, hey, I want you to work security, and I also want you to sweep the ring out after every match real quick. Just get in there real quick and give it a good dusting. You know what I mean? Dust off in front of the stairs or whatever. But you're trying to get a new student to do both those things. So that becomes an issue too. One thing I wanted to really talk about that as we get to the wrestling portion of everything, I saw a lot of matches. We're in a new town, we're at a new convention, and we're just in front of new people, and we're trying to generate new fans. Well, this audience wants to get involved in it, and JP does a great job getting them going beforehand. Sean did a good job getting them going. But the thing is, in the Sergio Jerry match, I was telling Jerry, it was a good little finish. The problem is that the performers, the heel has to, even if he's got Jerry in a submission and Jerry's almost going to tap but gets to the rope and then rolls under the ring, and then Sergio's arguing with the ref, and then when he turns around, he goes to grab Jerry to pick him up, and Jerry hangs him over the top rope, and sells and comes back, and then he launches over with that sunset flip, 1, 2, 3, you'll get a pop. But you can't get pops if the heels aren't being the heel. The heel has to be the heel first. And if the heel becomes the heel, then the baby face is going to get the sympathy. But the whoever's going over, it has to look like the opponent, especially the bad guy, is the baby's in jeopardy of losing. Like, we need to believe he's actually losing. So that was one of the things I noticed with the audience is nobody really Maple set the tone with them getting on their feet and had good energy, but nobody really set the tone for the show. The opener didn't set the tone with the new crowd. Match number 2 didn't set the tone. That 3-way, Bishop was getting heat on the microphone talking about women, and Maple had him up. And I'm not trying to knock anything on the booking or anything, but that was the one match when I look back at the card. If that match would have been a different finish, if Maple would have gone over, I think that would have energized the crowd. And Jerry and Sergio had a great match, right? It was a great opener, but it's a new audience. They're new to wrestling, so they could have done a little more energy, a little more from the heel, a little more energy coming through the curtain. And I feel like that would have been the perfect opener if Sergio would have been pressuring Jerry where the audience thought he might have lost. Then that finish would have popped him. And then I think the Maple thing being 2 or 3, even if it was 1, if we knew that was going to happen, I feel like Maple losing to the Brett Bunafro or whatever, Brett Buffet. I think that Brett Buffet beating Maple because the crowd was so up. Even in that sense, I don't feel he got a lot of heat for winning that match. Not justified heat that would require him moving on in a tournament or anything. But I feel like Maple, that was the one opportunity with the audience. And we as promoters have to hear that, and the wrestlers have to hear that too. And I know this is going to sound weird, but we have to hear that audience if it's kind of dead for a couple matches, and then we hear somebody really get over, and we look out there and we go, maybe we got to send a message out or switch it up and have that baby face win, because that just might change the tone for the rest of the show. And that's something that I learned yesterday.
Right, exactly. Well, and that's what we're talking about. I mean, this is a learning experience where, and I think as a promoter, you sometimes don't like, you go, oh, it's set in stone, right? Because you think about all of the pieces that you have put together, right? You've told the announcer, you told the music person, so you feel almost like handcuffed, right? At some point, where it's like, if you did do that, if you did send a message to say, hey, let's switch the finish, this person got a great reaction, let's have them win, you get caught up in oh, well, I've already put this down, and this is how everyone else thinks the show's going to go. And and I think it's one of those things where you got to trust that everybody can work on the fly and go, okay, we made a change, and we're just gonna run with it, right? We're gonna roll and figure it out on the fly, like we're all professionals. So definitely something to keep in the back of your mind and take into consideration. Like, and I think it's one of those things which it would be great to do that on a show, so everybody also knows, like, hey, if I go out there and I'm the person that gets this crowd going, we might switch the finish, and then all of a sudden, maybe a small push in this company that I was possibly going to get turns into a bigger push, because now I've showed the promoter, hey, I know how to get myself over, so I think that that's an awesome suggestion, something that I definitely will keep in mind for the future. And hopefully it's something that other promoters can listen to this and go, hey, that is a possibility. That is something that I can do. Because you think about if somebody gets hurt or something like that in a match, you potentially are going to switch a finish and make the adaptation on the fly. And that's what good pro wrestlers are able to do is make those adaptations on the fly. So, just putting that out there, going, hey, this could happen. Be prepared. Be a professional. Be calm. All those different things. But it leads me to something else that we were talking about the show. It's like, at what point do you go, experience matters? If you are the more experienced person in the match, all of a sudden, you are quote unquote a better pro wrestler than the other person. We talk about so many times when you're working heel, a lot of times it's because you have the ability to call a match and pace the crowd and all these different things. We look at it as a responsibility that the promoter gave us. Like, hey, you're the heel. You're going to be in control of controlling the tempo of this match, getting the heat, putting the heat on the baby face, creating sympathy for them, and really controlling the match as a whole. But at what point do you go, it's not just about who's been a professional wrestler for longer, is quote unquote better, versus you're working as a team out there, right? It might be something that you and I are doing in the ring that I hear, so I make a change on the fly, maybe away from something that we were gonna do because I heard something that I go, hey, we gotta work towards this because I heard this and I think this is gonna get a good reaction out of the fans. Obviously we have to have that trust, right?
Well, I mean, you look at this situation, and I'm not gonna pinpoint names or anything, but I'm gonna talk about the actual scenario of it, right? So are you froze over there? Are you frozen in time? Paul? Paul, you're frozen. Let me shake it. Sorry, guys. I think Paul froze up on me. I need you back, Paul, for this question because you got to work with me, pal. Where'd you go? Ladies and gentlemen, we're having some technical difficulties here on the Going Over podcast. We're going to give Paul about 10 seconds. Let's give it a little countdown. 10. No, he's gone. He's gone. I'm gonna wait about 10 seconds and I'm gonna answer this question back. I'm gonna wait about 8 more seconds and we're gonna answer this question back because this is a really good answer. It's terrible that we paused out at this time. We give him 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and no Paul there. Okay. So basically what Paul was asking me was, in a situation, does the experience matter, right? Yes, the experience matters, but the experience needs to be put in the right situation. And what I mean by the right situation is, if you have a young talent who, it doesn't matter if he's been out there for 5 matches or if that man's been out there for 20. Okay, he's back, ladies and gentlemen.
Sorry, guys. We had a train and some cars got derailed on the side of the highway, and I think it may have affected my internet connection.
So you asked me this question, and it's terrible that we had this pause in the middle because I didn't want to move forward with anything, and I started to answer the question. And the question you asked me was experience, right? Situations. Does it matter how long somebody's been doing it? And we've run into this, and I'm not going to mention the names, but we've run in this situation with the same guy twice in back-to-back weekends now, where this young man is hands down taller than everybody. He's hands down in better shape. I of all people know what athleticism is. I have very good control of my body during my career. I know athletes. So you can't teach an athlete to be an athlete. We can agree on that, right? So as I really thought about what happened, and I thought about back-to-back weekends, we put this person in a position not to win as the promoters. And I'll tell you why we put him in a position not to win. Because the previous week before, he was wrestling a shorter, out of shape wrestler who's been around for 15 years, and the guy's character is more of a heel. But we had the tall, incredibly in shape, athletic guy with the great look be the heel. Bad booking. We should have had the out of shape older guy that's been around a while be the heel, and everything would have worked itself out. And then in this situation we had last night, same guy, same situation, less experience, and the guy with the most experience is coming out and he's doing hip gyrations again, almost the different ethnicity, same type of character, but he's the baby face. We should never have taken the young, good-looking, athletic, stand-apart athlete and made him at an inexperienced, as much as he's been out there, even though he's incredibly poised and understanding of it, he should have never been the heel both nights. He should have been the baby face, and the veteran, more out-of-shape wrestlers with the gimmick of what a villain would do, of someone who's not as in good a shape, should have been the heel, and it would have fixed those issues. So I feel like as a coach, for me, when I look at that situation, no matter what happens afterwards or anything, I feel like we kind of set the young guy up for failure in a bad situation. And then we're critiquing him at the end, trying to talk, but he shouldn't be the heel. He's too young. We talk about it verbatim all the time. We say the older, more veteran wrestler is the heel, and we're trying to find that young baby face that looks the part that the fans can get behind, and we can put him on the poster and sell the ticket around the guy. So I just feel like I looked at a lot of stuff we've done the last couple weekends, and it's such a learning experience for us. And it's one of those things that I know we're not going to make these mistakes anymore, but we made a couple, man. And I have no problem owning up on my end, because I was just as big a part of that as everybody else. When I'm looking at it on the card, I'm looking at stuff on the card and I'm going, we got a baby face right here. And he hasn't been around a while. And then we got this fucking guy who lets you know he's a damn veteran of the game. Well, it's hard to call. I say it all the time. You can't call a match as a baby face, no matter if you've been around a while or not. You can talk to the guy, but the heel's got to direct traffic. So in that instance, if you put the inexperienced heel against the veteran babyface, it's going to be a night where the veteran babyface is going to have to listen to the inexperienced heel. He's going to have to. That's what's going to help the inexperienced heel understand what he's doing. That's his opportunity to call stuff. If he calls something and you don't like it, as the veteran, go, no, not. You can shoo it off. But it wasn't a good situation. It's never a good situation to put the inexperienced guy as the heel and the experienced guy as the baby face. So and we watch what happens with that too. It creates so much, energy and adrenaline and all this stuff, and it can go the wrong. I think it's going to go that way almost every time when you look at it. So That's my answer to that. I really was logically thinking of it, and I'm like, man, we kind of fucked up on that,
Right, and it's difficult because then as an inexperienced guy, you come back and you go, man, I really shit the bed right there, right? When you got put in a situation where it is going to be very difficult to succeed, based off of the circumstances. So, that it's just, we go back to it over and over and over, but that is the main reason that we're doing this podcast is, it's we and I don't know if it's egotistically or whatever, but we're like, oh, we're sharing information to help people get better. But, when you step back and realize what we're doing is not only are we doing that and trying to provide advice and direction, leadership to other people, but we are in turn also getting the same in return. I don't know how many times we've got messages about things that we talked about, and it changes my perspective on things, just regardless of what it is, because we do not know everything there is to know about everything in pro wrestling. It is always nice to get other guys, the Uglies, the Oliver Johns, some of these other guys that have maybe a little different perspective and look at things at in a little different way than we do, point out some things that we go, you know what, that's a great point. It's something I need to take into consideration, and maybe change your perspective a little bit. But, but ultimately that's the goal of the podcast is, not for us to make everyone better, but for the wrestling scene as a whole to get better, us included, right? So, so I think I don't know, I feel like we're moving in the right direction. We're getting information out there. We're receiving information that's helpful. And, like I said previously in this podcast, I feel like every week we are learning something new that we can try to put into place to improve what we're doing as well.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the big key is we're looking at these situations going in, and let's just take this scenario, right? Let's take Oliver John and Ethan Reno. Who's going to be the heel? Ollie is, not Ethan. But if we're trying to take this young kid and teach him how to be a heel, Oliver John would go, hey, check it out tonight, kid. I'm going to be the baby face, and I'm going to sell for you, and I want you to go out here tonight, and I want you to call the action. It's on you. You're calling everything I'm doing. If we fuck up, this is on you. You know what I mean? And that's one thing that I heard. And as the veteran too, that's something that we got to pick. You got to pick up on when we're putting it together. But as the veteran guy too, saying, I know, this is fucking wrestling 101. Well, wrestling 101, you also need to take accountability, and it goes for me too. But you have to take accountability as the performer and put your ego in check and say, hey man, wait a minute. He's the heel tonight. How long's he been working? No. We got to flip that. Or he has to say, okay, he hasn't been working as long as me. You want him to be the heel? Hey, kid, come here tonight. Tonight, I'm going to let you call this thing in the ring. And none of that was done. So, and I don't want to use the word negligence, but when you're waiting on people to show up, you're in a new venue, you're doing this, and here's something I learned this weekend too. Bringing out of you asked me and I couldn't really give you an answer, like which out of town guys would you bring back to run a mucka? And this goes for any promoter. I don't know. Whoever gets over, I guess that's the obvious, but I don't know, because the consistency of the talent you're using, they're establishing their place on the totem pole and the trust. So I don't know, because I'm like, well, why is this guy winning when this guy should be winning? Because this guy's coming back every show and this guy's not coming back. Is he winning because he's the veteran? So sometimes when we're putting stuff together, it goes back to, is it just a match? Does it have purpose? Are we telling a short story? Are we telling a paragraph? Are we going to flip a couple pages on this story? Are we going to come back to something? Are we going to elongate this shit? Because like right now, me and you are telling a fucking a paperback novel. You know what I mean? And we're on chapter 3, and there's 20 chapters. But this book might get closed early because it might be time for this book to get closed early. So just situations like that. Like every week I become a better promoter, and I become a better booker, and I become a better performer for myself and for the guy I'm working with, because I go, hey, dumbass. And I'm talking about this guy. Hey, dumbass. Why? Because I said these things. I said it last week. You were standing right there. We said it to each other. We're like, yeah. Why'd the babyface get 60% of the match? Because the wrong people were in the wrong roles. And then we fired it back out there again, you know, with more emotion involved in the locker room. And it's like, no, we got to, in turn, that's part of our fault too. So I got to take accountability, because when I think about this shit, I'm like, oh man, we fucked up too, but we can do better. And that's what we do. That's why we do this. And we talk about, I always bring up when we watched our match, we shit all over ourselves. You know what I mean? Because you're supposed to shit on yourself. The man running the ropes, man, Adam Thornstowe. Got to see him this weekend and sit down and really have a conversation with him. And that's the stuff we talk about, right? Like Adam's in the building with his daughter. I made sure I was sitting down with my old pal, talking to him every chance I could get. If he was up here, I was up here. If he was sitting here, I was sitting here. I always made sure I went by and had a conversation with him, because I don't get to see him much. And he's the smartest guy in the fucking building. And then he was running the ropes and people filmed it. And it's, you know what I mean? Now the rumor mill, Adam Thornstowe's back, baby. But yeah, I mean, we just have to keep getting better. And that's what we do. That's what we do. So when you say, I think a lot of good stuff happened this weekend, you're saying that because a lot of good stuff did happen this weekend. But think about how much we learned as wrestlers, promoters, bookers, just this weekend, just yesterday.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, and obviously, it is fantastic to see Adam come out. You know, it's always like, you know, there was definitely, you know, his daughter is into pro wrestling and his daughter is into Ink Master, which it was a combination of those things at the tattoo convention. So great reason, great excuse for him to come out. And you know, the convention, I've never been to one before. You know, I was like, I don't know what it's supposed to be like. You know, you're walking around and it's like, okay, well, I've already made my rounds a couple times and I've looked at what I feel that there is to look at. Now, what else can I do? And it's like, you know, he's like, hey, you mind if we, you know, go get in the ring? And then he's like, I got to go put some shorts on. It's like, all right. So this dude is not just going to let his daughter get in the ring. This guy is going to get in there himself and do some stuff, you know. And it's like, you hear like Stone Cold talk about how long it took him after he retired to kind of be good with it, right? And I know Adam has never officially retired. You know, he's a Hall of Famer. He is. He said he hasn't been in the ring for, I think he said 2 years or something like that. But it's he's one of those guys, even being away from it for 2 years, and you know, maybe he's not, you know, he's like, I'm gonna have the ring, the rope marks on my back after running the ropes a little bit, and you know, because your body isn't it's not calloused if you're not in there on a regular basis a regular basis doing it. So he's like, I'm going to have the rope marks and all this stuff. But you just look at him, and it's just a reminder of just how good he is. And you know he's the smartest guy in there, and it's like, I don't know, man. I just think about the history of traveling with him and the matches that I've seen him have, and just just how good he is. Wrestling a lot of bigger names, and I feel like, excuse me, never being fazed by it, never being fanboying out like, oh my god, I get to wrestle Samoa Joe or whatever, right? It was always, for him, it was always I'm challenging myself. I'm putting pressure on myself to go in there with somebody who's got more experience than me, that's on TV, that's a household name or whatever, and I'm going to go out there and I'm going to fucking kill it with this guy, and I'm going to keep up with him, and I'm going to show everybody how good I am, which kind of gets back to our you don't have to tell people how good you are. When you're really good, other people are going to say, hey man, do you see how good Adam is? Or hey, you see how good Zach is out there? You see what this guy did? It's you're just setting the example. You're leading by example, and people are going, hey, that was really subtle, but did you see what he did right there? And why it made such a huge difference in what they're trying to accomplish. So seeing him out there, and man, it was the ultimate. He's in proud dad mode, man. Watching his daughter in there, and she's just picking stuff up real quick, and I totally spaced that. She's like a diver, a swimming diver. So it's like Adam has a lot of really good body control. You talk about the body control that you have, and then you're watching her, and it's kind of the same thing, right? You have to have incredible body control to do all this stuff off of the high dives, and dive properly. And he said, oh, she got over the fear of things, and now she's just on a roll with doing that. So it's just one of those things where you go, I've seen pro wrestlers not get as far as she did in a couple hours, and they've been doing it for months or years or things like that. So this is one of those cool things.
Could you imagine Adam Thornstow's daughter versus Paul Isadora's daughter? Today at training, MILF Hunter Matt has been, he's been dragging his daughter around all this wrestling stuff for years, and she's a good little athlete. She wrestles in school and everything. And I come in late today because I had to get to grab the ring. We just got back from Winnemucca. I'm so tired right now, brother. I am like counting the seconds that this thing ends, because I just feel like I'm just depleted. But I come in the building and I see her sitting there playing on her phone. But then I see Arsonist's kid, youngest kid, in there doing the drills, the progressions. And I go, hey, what are you doing? And she goes, what? I go, put your phone down and go wipe your feet off and get in the ring. She's like, really? And I'm like, yeah, like you're starting today. Get up there. And she did great. And then, Ethan had a long weekend and with us. So I sent Ethan out there outside with Arsonist's youngest kid, who's starting, and MILF's kid. And it's like, these are possibilities, man. This is what WWF does. WWE. They take second and third generation wrestlers. They take people's cousins. It's like, why are all these people that that are related to somebody getting these good spots and these jobs in the companies? Because they're family members, because I can fucking trust them. They got good genes. Why would we not? If all 5 of your daughters wanted to continue your legacy in professional wrestling and work for the RWF, why would Paul Isadora not want all 5 of his female daughters to set the wrestling world on fire? Why? Look at Big Ugly. He's got the 3 kids. They wrestle. They love it. Arsonist's kids. Ramon's already 16 years old. The kid's going to be the future. Mark my words. Ramon Corzine is going to be the future of pro wrestling. This kid's 16, been training since he was 13, and he's out here doing believable stuff. I've only had him wrestle veteran wrestlers, and he's holding his own. 16. I hadn't even started till I was 17. This kid's already got 3 years of experience. Reno's 18. The future is now is not just a quote that we need to have. It's no, we have to pass this on to the next generation with what we know now and go, hey, don't be a dumbass. Don't let your dad choke slam you off the top rope. And if you do, don't lay out flat like a coffin or you're going to get a level 11 concussion. Take a high schoolboy bump or maybe take the bump from the middle rope. Maybe backflip out of it. I don't know, but we can pass stuff on. That's what I'm trying to do every week is save these guys' brain cells. I just watched Macy Barber in the UFC. She got knocked out.
Right.
And then the girl jumps on her and chokes her unconscious immediately. So she's got a severe brain trauma. And then seconds later, a lack of oxygen. You know what I mean? Like, we're going to hear about this shit later. She laid there for 5 minutes just lost in space, you know? And she's young too. She's 22. So we have to protect the talent. And that's where the modern wrestling stuff and all that comes in. But yeah, it's great seeing Adam run the ropes. I love hearing that your daughters want to kick the ever living shit out of me. That's what was missing from last night. Because if they would have saw that boot fly into 3 different particles, and what I did to you last night, they might have attacked the ring with needle syringes from the tattoo artist. I would have been stabbed.
I definitely text them mid-show, and I said that we missed them. And my one daughter said, "Oh, is the crowd dead?" And I was like, "No, they're not dead, but they would be way more over the top excited if you guys were here." Yeah. So, but yeah, that's it's just one of those deals, man. And we've talked about that in the past as well. It's like, you have certain fans that get into it, and it spreads like wildfire with these other people that are kind of like not sure if it's okay to cheer loudly and get involved and be a part of the show. And when you have people that are in the crowd that are actively trying to be a part of the show and give the wrestlers a hard time and things like that, and either be over the top, a fan of someone, or over the top hating someone, it gives everybody else permission to do the same. So definitely something that you'll realize kind of in the moment, after the moment, that wow, man, how much of a difference do these girls in the crowd make to the excitement of what's going on.
100%. And Paul, as we're closing in, because I'm going down, man. I'm going down. Extreme Measures 27. It's less than 7 days away. This Saturday coming up, the Oroville Convention Center. Zach Primetime Reeb, Rick Luxury, Sin, triple threat for the championship. I'm going for number 7, marking out for myself right now here. Hella hard, man. I didn't get none of these references in, so I'd save it for the end. This might be the last time you see all 3 of us in a ring together like this. So these are moments, man. A lot of special moments are happening at this show for me. I think this is coming off of Last Man Standing. Going to be some of our finest work that we've ever put out. And a lot of people, a lot of guys that maybe you've heard of some of these new guys, but these are going to be moments for the young guys that are really going to catapult them to the next stage in their career. And it's been a great weekend. I've had a blast. Hit that subscribe button over and over and over and over and over again. Do you have anything in closing?
No, just we gotta share this podcast out there. We gotta get more ears, more eyes on what's going on. Like I said, it is a community effort of trying to to make the whole scene better, whether it's us sharing information with you guys or vice versa. You guys commenting on the podcast, you guys sending us messages, and helping us help you. Help me help you. That's it, man. And we're going over.
We going over.